Yo, yo, yo.
Yo, yo, yo.
All right, now, what's going on, everybody? Comrades, revolutionaries, truth seekers. Welcome to our first episode of the Colonizer's Coffin, giving you blunt discussion, real news, cynical takes on pop culture and raw history, no chaser. I am your host, John Tell, and let us embark on a journey through time and truths that shape our world. From the untold stories of history to today's pressing issues, this is the space where knowledge meets revolution. Together, let's explore the narratives that have been hidden, discuss the challenges we face, the stuff we don't discuss enough, and unravel the mysteries that surround us. We're not just observers, we're active participants in the revolution of knowledge. So please hit the like button and share this stream. Follow us on all our platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, X, Twitch, and Spotify. Just search the Leon Block. Peace and blessings to everyone. Yo, the Urban Conservative. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Thank you for joining us this evening. We really appreciate it. Uh, big blessings to my co host, Matt Scott. Thank you for joining me as well.
No problem. No problem at all.
Appreciate you, brother. So, this show is going to talk about everything, as we said, from pop culture to conspiracy theories, history, world, national news. We can talk about anything under the sun that I deem is salacious, worthy, blunt, real, raw, however you want to put it. We will, for the most part, talk about news updates and pop culture and how it plays a part in this system that we currently live in that has been upheld by Western powers, Western civilization, global Northern powers, however you want to cut it. We will talk about everything from aliens to apartheid and genocide to climate change to Beyonce and Jay Z. You name it, we will discuss it. Discuss it. I know you've got some information that you want to share with us, Matt. Tell me about real quick before we get into the clip. What is going on in Russia, and how does that relate to us?
In Russia right now, a activist who is resisting the war efforts of Vladimir Putin is being imprisoned, and that in turn created a chain reaction where half of the country is now protesting to free said activist. On Wednesday, there was a clash between the protesters and the police in a small town outside of the Ural Mountains on the Kazakhstan border called Baymak Bashkortostan. And
Okay, so understanding the context of this here, knowing that the Soviet Union, which Russia is a derivative of, Russia comes from the Soviet Union, right? And the Soviet Union was a colonist power of its own that conquered many different countries and areas, territories, kingdoms, however you want to describe it, along their way. One of the territories and areas that they conquered was South Asia, Central Asia, and the Caucasus Mountains are a region that they have always either dominated, sought to dominate, or fought for the control of. And from what you've been talking about, it seems like they've been using part of their what is now part of their territory in Russia, but they are ethnically a different kind of people than what people think of as Russians. Russians are not all ethnically white or ethnically Caucasian. There are many different races within Russia, and the people that they seem to be utilizing for the army happen to be people that are of not white ethnicity. They happen to be of Central Asian ethnicity, and these people are tired of being used as human shields, so they have been taking to the streets in droves. You said it was 10,000 people.
yep,
Yeah, to protest the war and them being sacrificed being in the war. So this to me makes perfect sense. I did hear actually that um, well,
And the
we
impact,
could talk about
the
it in future
impact it
episodes, but
has,
just keep in mind Russia's role in the greater world stage and
the
their
impact it
goals
has
and
out
efforts
here in
as a
America,
country.
the impact it has out here in America is that people of a nation, no matter what nation you're in, people, a portion of those people of every nation is realizing if they have an oppressive government that they can't take it for long.
Very
After a
true.
while, the people start to wise up and wake up and realize that they are being oppressed and their government is oppressing other governments and other peoples. And
I
that's when
think
things hit the fan.
I think one thing for people to take note of today in 2023 is we've come to a point in our history where there's not only so much technology going on, advances, and so fast, which makes communication very easier than we've ever presumably had in modern history that we are aware of. And there's so many people living at one period in human history and one period in time, so to speak, here in this on this planet, that we have an opportunity to really rise up against powers that have controlled the narrative for centuries, for millennia, so to speak. And so here we are today with all of these different global South powers uh, rising up in many different instances in many different ways, and it's in every pocket of the planet. And as this show goes along, we will discuss all of those different areas, whether it be the Middle East, whether it be places in the Middle East like Iran, Kurdistan, uh, Azerbaijan, whether it's Oceania and Indonesia, the Philippines, whether it is Africa with the Congo, Eritrea, Ethiopia, South Sudan, uh, South America with Honduras and Venezuela, Guyana. Um, we will be talking about all the different regions of the world, all the different people that have been feeling oppressed or are tired of global interests, globalist interests, global powers such as the US, the UK, uh, France, Spain, and Italy, um, and Netherlands, all taking shots and picking off the world, black and brown countries, global South countries throughout the years. All of these countries have been fed up and they have been revolting in a number of different ways as time has went on, and this has happened since 2020. I think the pandemic really did spark a new revolution for our age group, for our time, and it doesn't seem like we're going to see any signs of these slowing down anytime soon. Shout out to the Urban Conservative for tuning in. We really appreciate you, brother. And shout out to all of the viewers tuning in as well. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Share the stream. News is very important. Real, raw news is important. Remember, the mainstream media will try to paint everything in history in a different narrative, but we are here to counteract that. So the Colonizer's Coffin is going to over time, I don't want to say over the next few weeks, but we're going to do a little trial here and do some interactive segments as we go along. But for right now, today on the first pilot, we are going to shoot the shit. There's a couple things I do want to talk about as far as news is going on. Y'all know the biggest story, I hate to say story, but the biggest thing going on right now is the issues in Palestine, in the Middle East. And I've been doing a lot of research on the greater Middle East, not just Palestine, but how this affects other Arab countries and what their intentions are, how they feel about what's going on. And we will get into that over successive episodes. And
And
that
see,
does tie into what you were talking about, Matt, with Russia,
exactly. I was
because
just about to mention that. See, it all ties in because both
yeah,
Russia's government and Israel's government are both conducting genocides on other people. And it's high time that the people stand up and say, we're not going to take this anymore. Our tax dollars aren't going to this anymore. We're not going to sit here and support genocide and death and suffering. And now you're starting to see the people in Israel rise up against Netanyahu, as well as people in Russia rising up against Putin.
And I think if we continue to look at, if we look at things from a capitalistic standpoint, on that note, I think that all people that are that have to succumb to this system are going to react in terms in the language of this system. So what can they do? They can boycott, they can strike, they can take to the streets and say, we're not doing anything until you tell us what is going on here. Why are we paying to kill people? I think that we've got a long ways to go, obviously, but
Exactly. Why is the
just the
money
just
we're
the
making? Why is
just
the
the
money
past
we're
two
making all the
just the
money
past
that we
2 years
need?
alone, I think that we have come a long way in the sense of people waking up, all like I'm saying, so many different countries. I can't even run down the list right now. Um, but everyone should be
The money
looking at
we're
Africa.
making
Everyone
as a
should be looking at
people.
South America. Everyone should be looking at the Middle East. Everyone should be looking at Taiwan and China right now and asking themselves, what should we be doing in America to help move this along? Israeli occupation forces continue to bomb and destroy Gaza, including places they informed civilians to relocate to and flee to. And there are no hospitals left in Gaza, by the way. There are no hospitals left in Gaza. The last semi-functional health center in Gaza has been under siege, allegedly, and only 16 partially functional health centers or camps or whatever you want to call it left. And these can be ranging from makeshift to your run-of-the-mill like urgent care center. But remember, these are not hospitals, and these are not meant to take on amputees or a woman going undergoing a miscarriage, or a premature baby whose head has a big gash. Like, these incidents are not meant to be. And so people will be, well, they still have, no, they have nothing. So we need to remember that we cannot let up. We are starting to see public opinion being swayed, and the more that public opinion is being swayed, and the more that they're being informed, the more that they're having informed opinions about things and being educated on things, the more that they are changing government's minds. We're not going to change their hearts. We don't need to. We just need to hold them accountable and make sure that they do their jobs, right? There was 36 hospitals before October 7th, right? There are now none. Officials calling the situation catastrophic, being that the healthcare system has been completely decimated. It has collapsed, and 60,000 people have been allegedly wounded. The death toll reaching 25,000 officially, according to the health ministry, and that's not including those under the rubble that have not been taken into account. I think people fail to realize that too. We've seen roughly 1 million people being relocated and moved in some sense. 2 million people under siege. They're being told to go one place. They go to that place, it gets bombed. So yes, thank you. They are not equipped like a trauma level 1 hospital. There is no such thing left in Gaza, as of, I believe, yesterday. And Nasser Hospital, there was, via Democracy Now, we will post a link later on tonight, from Dr. Ahmed Maghrabi, who is a surgeon there at that hospital. His daughter was wounded, and he was taking shelter there. It's a miracle that we've even gotten any kind of information from anyone there, being that there's been a blackout basically for the past few days. And so there's little bits of information getting through. Apparently, one of the bits of information that uh, independent news outlets are getting are from medical staff being left in what's left of these medical centers. So all communications, not just Wi-Fi or phone, but for example, like EMTs, uh, people that are trying to reach different people for important uh, things cannot reach each other. That is critical. That is an issue. I don't think many people really understand how dire things are right now. People that have went there to aid from other countries have finally gotten out, and they are now telling their stories. So if you want a nice credible source that really gets into detail as to what is going on, please go and check out democracynow.org. They have lots of information for you to check out. Ben and Jerry's also joins the call for a ceasefire, officially stating that they stand with the Palestinian people and condemn genocidal acts. Matt, did you hear about the Texas governor who's again under more fire for immigrants being drowned and how it could have been prevented? Yeah, Texas troopers took over about 2 miles on the banks of the Rio Grande and denied access to Border Patrol. They were there attempting to respond to rescue calls, and as a result, 2 children drowned.
Did you hear his comments on
No.
what he was asked by reporters, like how he would escalate the situation? And he said something along the lines of, "Well, it's not like we're shooting them. Like, why would you even say something like that?"
I'm done.
Literally, he said that, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I'm like, that's not something you joke about
I mean,
at
I
all.
believe it because it's Abbott, but Abbott's another Netanyahu, if you ask me.
Yep.
So as Brea Espinosa was saying, an 8-day blackout communication, they are able to use 3G or 4G, but have come into sniper fire when they do so. Everyone, please continue to keep your prayers for Palestine. Keep Palestinians in your prayers. And we have been sharing some information on how you can donate, reach out, and obtain more information on a day-to-day basis as to what is going on in Palestine. But remember, there is more information that we need to be taking a look at here. If you have been educated and up to speed, at least on the history of Palestine, continue to do your due diligence and do your work and educate yourself on the greater history as to why this is this way. A lot of times we can trace every issue and dispute that global South countries and people have comes from not, yes, colonization as a whole, but the lines that colonizers drew.
There's
When they
actually
just draw a
one video.
line thousands of miles away from the actual source of the lines that they're drawing, and they separate groups of people, or they group groups of people together who were enemies. Now in 2023, we are looking at the byproducts of all of those disputes come from lines that were drawn decades or centuries ago.
I watched a video recently that really opened my eyes to this whole topic that I had never really heard in my life. And it was about a young man about our age who was born a Zionist Jew in Israel. His whole life, he was taught things that Zionist Jews would be taught. Come to find out, when he got to our age and met Palestinian men who had so much trouble trying to get through his life, he followed this man back to where Gaza is, and he found out that everything that they have taught Israeli people about Palestinians is a lie.
I can't imagine how much of a mind fuck that's gotta be for someone.
He lived his whole life believing that every Palestinian he would meet is a terrorist. That is what the Israeli government is teaching their people.
Yeah. It's extreme, and it's indoctrination to the fullest. It really is. Allegedly, Israel's using nerve gas
And
Of
when you
course, the
see it
weapon
with
that the
your
Nazis
own,
used in World War II and people they detained and killed, during,
when you see
including
it with
Jewish
your
people.
own two
You were talking
eyes,
about that, right?
when you see this, what I'm talking about with your own two eyes, it's mystifying. And not only that, but what the Israelis people are taught for a religion is exactly the same as what people in Gaza are taught as Palestinians, except it's a little bit different. For example, I'm sure you've heard of the son of, I think it's the son of Goliath, and a slingshot.
Hmm.
Well, the Israeli people are taught that the slingshot is being shot at a I forget what it was, but there was a little kid with a slingshot, an image of a little kid with a slingshot. Now, what Palestinian people are taught in Gaza is the same thing with the slingshot, except the slingshot is being aimed at an IDF soldier. So it shows that, and he was making a point to relate that both the Israeli people and Palestinians in Gaza both go through a form of depression, a form of oppression that's similar, but it's a little bit different. But
Yeah,
they still both go through oppression, and they're
yeah,
both being told that either side is evil. Yep,
yep.
it's a huge mindfuck, but it's true. That's true propaganda. That is true propaganda. Propaganda is indoctrination.
And many different quote unquote industrialized countries have some form of it, and we will definitely get into many of them. Um, Today, I just kind of wanted to shoot the shit, give a little taste, and talk about a couple of things that are going on, inform people of just little tidbits and update them in a real raw way, as opposed to just the many posts that we give via our Facebook or Twitter. And me personally, it's time for me to get back in the groove of touching base with y'all. If y'all do not know who I am, my name is John Teltolan. I am the founder of the Leon Block Network. Thank you for tuning in, supporting us, and please, if you have not already, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button. Matt, I want to go ahead and jump into a clip that you brought us via, what is the name of Rust?
10,000
Yes.
protesters.
So we will jump into this in a second. This is describing the situation you were talking about with the uprising in the Ural Mountains, right?
Yep, in Russia.
Anti-war protest against Russia. So let's go ahead and jump into this clip.
Clash with police in Russia over jailing of anti-war activist. The jailing of an anti-war activist in Russia resulted in thousands of citizens taking to the streets and clashing with law enforcement in a brutal display of resistance. An estimated 10,000 Russian citizens protested on Wednesday in support of activist Fal Alsinov, who was sentenced to 4 years behind bars for quote-unquote inciting hatred. Wednesday's event was the largest incident of civil unrest in Russia since Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine nearly 2 years ago. Demonstrators clashed with police in the small town of Baymak, Bash Korotostan, which sits near the Ural Mountains and near the Kazakhstan border. Police unloaded cans of tear gas on the crowd, who were seen in footage throwing snowballs and ice at officers. Over 300 special forces were called in to control the protesters, including the Russian National Guard. They beat the men mercilessly, one witness recalled of the mayhem, according to the Daily Mail. They beat him on the head and back with batons. They say that someone's eye was knocked out. When paddy wagons arrived to detain demonstrators, the crowd reportedly encircled the vehicles and hurled threats at the officers, warning of violence against them if they hurt the detainees. The unruly scene was the largest event of civil unrest since Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine nearly 2 years ago in February 2022. The sentencing of the activist that sparked the demonstration was held behind closed doors. Alisanov was accused of insulting people of Central Asia and the Caucasus in a speech in the Bashkir language. However, the activist insisted that the speech was misconstrued. In addition to the allegedly mistranslated speech, Alisanov has also been publicly critical of the war in Ukraine. The activist was reportedly fined last year for speaking out against Putin's war on social media. In his post, Alisanov called the mobilization of Russian troops to send to the Ukrainian front lines a genocide of the Bashkir people. Putin's former speechwriter, Abbas Galimov, warned of the civil unrest. This is how the Soviet Union collapsed. This does not mean that the regime there has been overthrown right now, but it does mean that when suppressing discontent, the authorities will have to act very harshly, and this, in turn, means that many painful grievances will be stored in the treasury of people's minds. Galimov said, "This is how the Soviet Union collapsed."
Wow, yeah. I definitely get what you're saying. This is definitely something for us to look at in the scope of many different peoples, many different groups, ethnic groups, races, and peoples rising up against their own respective governments around the world. And I think that if we were even more connected, we could really do some damage, because I'm seeing, if you look at all the different independent media sources and check out the news that they're all covering, there are a lot of similarities between so many different places, and if they were more connected, I think a lot more could be done. Matt, thank you definitely for sharing this piece, and solidarity to these people, solidarity to all the oppressed people around the world that are actively rising up and holding protests against their own governments and saying, we are done with war, we are fed up, we've had enough, especially to colonist powers. Definitely.
Your government should never be treating you like you're a commodity. They should always be treating you like you're a human being, a person. There's no reason why they should be acting like this. But when they are acting like this, that's the time to rise up.
Agreed, my friend. All right, y'all. We are going to go ahead and wrap up and get out of here. We will touch base with y'all very, very, very soon. And we will be diving deep into the narratives that shape our world. We will have special guests, live interactions, and even call-ins. Your voice matters, and this is a journey of discovery. So share the wisdom, spread the knowledge, tune in, engage, join the revolution. Go ahead and follow, share, set your reminders together. Let's unravel the threads of history and explore the untold stories. We're going to draw connections between pop culture phenomena and or historical or societal events. We'll discuss how entertainment reflects or influences our perceptions. We're going to dive into mysteries of ancient civilizations, archaeological discoveries, unsolved historical puzzles, updates on current events. We're going to keep you informed and engaged with the latest news, and we'll explore, like I said, historical events, figures, and in-depth every week or every other day, every month, however we see fit, or major events happen. We may discuss their relevance to today's world. I really appreciate you, Matt, for joining us. You will be back as well. All right. I appreciate every single one of you, our incredible audience, for joining this journey. What's that, bro?
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and watching. We appreciate everyone that watches this and cares.
And be sure to hit us up with questions, y'all. Y'all thoughts make revolutionary narratives what it is. So we really appreciate connection, and we really appreciate input. Thank you so much. Y'all have a blessed one, y'all. Matt, you have a blessed one as well, and we will touch base with y'all soon.
Thank you, comrade.